Welcome to the Immigrant Entrepreneurs Podcast, episode 53. My name is Alina Warwick, and today we have Lauren Cohen on the show. Before we continue with this episode, I wanted to ask if you can share some love by subscribing to the podcast and leaving a rating. If you leave a rating, your name may be dropped in one of my future episodes. So stay tuned and connected.
My second marriage got married late 2006. We went on our honeymoon to Thailand. He was originally from Canada, although I met him here in Florida. I didn't know that he had immigration issues or didn't really understand the scope of them. On the way back from our honeymoon at Chicago O'Hare Airport, they advised me that my then husband was inadmissible, and he was expeditiously removed, put into immigration jail. They sent me back to Florida and they deported him.
Lauren is a serial entrepreneur and an international lawyer, realtor, and foreign investor expert. Originally from Toronto and now in South Florida, Lauren is also a best-selling author and sought-after speaker and launched her podcast, Investing Across Borders, in late 2020. After her then husband's deportation on the return trip from their honeymoon, Lauren was devastated. She felt compelled to find solutions for herself and for others, and strongly believed that she could make a difference. That experience prompted her to turn to the crazy world of immigration and international law, serving as a concierge quarterback in order to help others avoid a similar fate. Today, real estate investors and entrepreneurs hire Lauren and her turnkey team as she believes in overcoming obstacles, navigating business and investments, applying customized turnkey solutions designed to help clients navigate the path to invest, live, work, and play across borders. So let's dive right in and hear all about her journey. All right, Lauren, thank you so much for joining the Immigrant Entrepreneurs Podcast. I truly appreciate your time, and I'm super excited to hear all about your journey. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
So let's talk about your immigrant journey. Tell us where you're from and when did you come to the United States?
I am from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I came to the US originally in the 90s. I moved back to Toronto and I hated the cold so much that I came back here in 2001, right before 9/11.
Oh, no. So what made you move, I guess, initially the first time and then the second time?
So the first time was because of an ex-husband who was being, I guess, transferred to Florida. And I thought, okay, let's do this. And the second time, honestly, was because once you've lived in Florida, it's very hard to go back to Canada.
Got it. Okay. And so what was that transition like, moving back the second time and going through your citizenship process? Because I know normally people think that, oh, moving from Canada, it's super easy. Everyone knows the English, but tell me a bit about that.
So that's actually what I do every day of the week, is I help people make that process much more streamlined. It is not easy. Doesn't matter where you're from. It might be a tiny bit easier for Canadians, but we still have to go through the same red tape and get all the check boxes checked off. And so I'll give you a little story. I've been married twice. My second marriage got married late 2006. We went on our honeymoon to Thailand. He was originally from Canada, although I met him here in Florida. I didn't know that he had immigration issues or didn't really understand the scope of them. On the way back from our honeymoon at Chicago O'Hare Airport, they advised me that my then husband was inadmissible, and he was expeditiously removed, put into immigration jail. They sent me back to Florida and they deported him. And so, needless to say, that was actually when I literally fell into immigration law and was determined that I was going to find paths to smooth the way for others. So it was not an easy path at all. At the time when this all happened, I was in the midst of my green card process, but he, because he was inadmissible, couldn't even get his green card. And so I got it, and we ended up divorcing, although was for completely other different reasons. But yeah, so I've been through the whole thing. So when people say to me, "Oh my God, I'm going through this and that," I really can empathize because I have been there.
And what does that mean, inadmissible?
So he was in when he was younger. He lived in Montreal. That's where he grew up, and he had sold fake Rolexes and other such watches at a mall in Montreal. So he was charged, and he was eventually pardoned in Canada. But for the purposes of US immigration, foreign pardons are not recognized. So that thereby made him inadmissible. They called it a heinous crime. At the time, needless to say, I was like, this is not heinous. It's like what, it's not like he killed somebody. But
Right.
in retrospect, I thank God every day that that happened. And what it did for me was actually reoriented my whole focus of my business and my life. And my book is actually called Finding the Silver Lining in the Business Immigration Process, because I'm all about finding the silver lining. And I also started a nonprofit of the same name.
Wow. Okay. So it's amazing to see how different life experiences really draw us to create businesses or starting nonprofits just through what we experience. And seems like that's what happened in your case.
Yes. Well, not everybody is capable of doing that. A lot of people will put their heads in the sand and, cry over spilt milk, but there's nothing you can do. And you have to get yourself up and keep going. And I decided to turn it into an opportunity to impact others.
So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I really want to know, what was it like growing up in Canada?
Well, I can't say anything bad about growing up in Canada, other than, I was never really a big fan of snow, but I had a great childhood. I had a great life. I have a great family. It's a great country. Everything is safe, or was, maybe not now as much. Now they're on lockdown. There's a lot of political issues in every country because of COVID, but it was a wonderful experience. Most of my clients, or a lot of my clients, especially those from other countries that are face more political unrest and so on, or escaping like asylum cases or so on. That was not me. I was not getting out of a country because it was so horrible and I was facing gunpoint every time I went to the supermarket at all. My story was, I really was chasing my version of the American dream, as opposed to running away from something. I was running to something. And fortunately or unfortunately, at least half of the immigrants to this country are not. They're running away from something. And as you know, right now there's a lot of debate going on about a lot of the illegal aliens that are still in the country and whether to make them legal. So, that was never me. I was never going that direction. I was never escaping political persecution. Canada's a great country. The only problem is it's cold,
It's freezing.
very cold.
It's really beautiful, though, I have to say.
It is a beautiful country.
Yeah. So, and before you tell our listeners about your company and I guess the different companies and the nonprofit that you have, tell me a little bit about the path you took. And I really want to know if you try to go into any other fields before starting your businesses.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I am a lawyer in two countries. And so I definitely was practicing law. I was working in house. I was trying different avenues. I'm not licensed in Florida. I'm licensed in a different state. I'm also licensed in Ontario, my home province. I almost said state. Oh my God. And so I was always trying to find a place for myself, working in house, working in a corporate law setting, being that in house attorney, corporate counsel. And it just never gelled. I was always kind of that very independent, great team player, but always wanted and needed to be a leader and have more impact than just being a paper pusher. And so I think it was more about career choices or the lack of career choices, maybe, because I wanted to be in Florida, that led me to become an entrepreneur, because it was kind of circumstances just kept pushing me and pushing me. I had a very dear friend who asked me to write a business plan for a startup. So I was always a good writer. Then my immigration lawyer found out that I wrote a business plan for a startup, and he said, "Do you want to write a business plan for a visa?" And this was before the whole, marriage thing. And I'm like, "Okay, sure." So I did, and then the whole thing happened with my ex-husband, and then I was like, "Okay, well, all these things go together, so obviously I'm being pushed in this direction." So, yeah.
So when you initially became a lawyer, what did you practice? What was your focus?
I always wanted to work in house. I wanted to do mergers and acquisitions and deals and transactional stuff, which I still do. I just do it more within the setting of my company. I've always been great at writing contracts, drafting contracts, reviewing contracts, all that kind of thing, and just making deals happen. I worked in financial services and in healthcare, and I worked at some very large companies and some very small companies.
Got it. Okay. And so then you slowly transitioned, focusing more on immigration businesses?
Yeah, so it actually kind of all melds together because I do business immigration. So a lot of immigration lawyers are very narrow in their niche. They're very focused on immigration and they don't necessarily understand the business side. I come to them and provide a service for their clients that's value added for them because I understand the immigration and the business sides. So I bring that value to the client and give them the consulting services that they need. So many immigration lawyers refer their clients to me. I've been writing business plans for 20 years, and most of them are focused on the visa process.
Okay, so I have to ask, if someone is going through their immigration process, does it benefit them if they have a business, if they're an entrepreneur?
100,000%.
Really? Okay. So the United States really kind of looks at an overall picture while going through the immigration paperwork and the process and seeing if they are contributing or entrepreneurs to help them out with the process.
Well, not necessarily, and I'm sorry to challenge you. It's not
No worries.
necessarily like that.
Okay.
It's more about what type of visa do you want, what type of visa do you need, and how can you qualify for that visa. So if you're applying for asylum, being an entrepreneur isn't going to help you. But if you're
Hmm.
applying for a business visa, being an entrepreneur is critical.
Okay, got it. Okay. Awesome. So tell me a little bit about Scale Up Enterprises and then eCounsel Inc. So which one does what?
So Scale Up Enterprises is I actually closed it in 2020.
Oh, you
So
did.
that was my failure. I wouldn't even call it a failure. It led me to other things. So I developed my Scale Up business as a algorithm driven, assessment driven tool to help businesses grow and scale through a variety of resources. My concept was to build a type of Angie's List for business owners, a collaborative network of service providers. And what happened was it needed extreme amounts of capital, and I just really wasn't willing to go. And I know you asked one of the questions about raising capital. I wasn't willing to go that route because I realized that my calling was back to eCounsel, which is about the coordination and the business immigration services. And that's my sweet spot. That's where I'm always going to shine, helping foreign businesses come into the country, helping foreign nationals invest in the US, helping real estate investors create strategies to make successful investment plans and implement them. So I decided that it just didn't make sense and was a losing proposition. And so I closed that in 2020.
Got it. Tell me a little bit more about Find My Silver Lining, the nonprofit that you have.
Sure. So the nonprofit was developed as a means to help struggling single moms and mompreneurs to find their silver lining through a variety of resources and services that can help them to achieve their goals and just give them the means to do that, whether they had the funds or not.
Do you plug them into different organizations, or what kind of resources do you provide them?
It's all one-on-one consulting and coaching.
Oh, got it. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, so why is it that I hear that Canada's immigration process is a lot smoother than the United States?
It's not that it's smoother, it's just very different. So there's different visas available. It's a little cleaner, there's less politics, and it's a little easier for the most part to get into Canada.
And
There's
why?
just because Canada is more open.
Yes.
Hmm.
And United States is not.
That's correct.
Yeah, and that's what I talk about all the time on this show because people wait forever. For instance, how long did it take for you to get your green card
Well,
and
I'm an
to go through?
exception because I don't take no for an answer. And even though at the time I didn't do this process myself, my immigration lawyer, who I still work with every day, he wanted to put me through under one category for my green card application. So I was here on an H-1B and a TN, and he wanted to put me through like this particular category. And I'm like, that's not going to work. I'm not going for that. That would have taken too long. So I said, we're going to do an EB2, which is advanced degree in like almost extraordinary ability. And at first, it was not denied, but it was challenged. It was on appeal, and I'm like, don't worry, we're going to do this, and we did. And so I think I got it in like 2 years. So at the time, that was pretty fast. But not everybody has, multiple degrees and letters beside their name, and if you don't have the right lawyer and professionals, it's not just a lawyer. It's like a lawyer and a tax advisor, especially if you're a person of worth. Okay. I came on my own without a family at the time. If you're coming, like I have many clients that are coming with their whole families, their families are maybe in their late teens, their kids or whatever. You have to look at things very differently. You need to speak with an asset protection attorney. You need to speak with a tax accountant. You need to make sure that you're protecting your assets in your home country and the country you're going to. And most people don't. Every day, I tell you, every single day, I get a call from somebody who said, I set up an LLC already. Oh my God, did you speak with a tax advisor? Well, no, but that's what Joe Schmo told me to do, or somebody on
Yeah.
Clubhouse or whatever. I'm like, that doesn't mean it's the right thing. And the problem is that because the US is so big and so powerful, and there's so many companies that are helping people invest, especially in real estate, it's not one size fits all, but American companies think it is. And so they advise people, no matter where they're from, to do it the same way, and it's not right. And so they end up getting dinged with their home tax regulatory authority. It's a very, very big problem. I've been saying for the past several months that this is really where my sweet spot is, because people just don't know what they don't know. And they just fall for this information and they're like, oh, well, that's how Joe Schmo did it or whatever. Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's right for you.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. A lot of people try to go through the immigration process just because their sister went through that
Yeah,
or their brother, and even if it's the same family member,
it
people are
doesn't
still
matter.
saying, yeah, it's still every person is unique, and it kind of bothers me in a way because there's so many different loopholes, there's so many different ways, and some people do take 10 years to wait for their immigration process to go through, going through all these visas and different avenues, and it just takes forever. So, and that's why we see people go to Canada and get their immigration process very fast. So, I just hope that it becomes a lot easier in the future to retain our all of our amazing, wonderful immigrants and talented people. We need them.
That's 100% true.
So, Lauren, you've written several books. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Sure. So the first book I wrote was called Finding Your Silver Lining in the Business Immigration Process. And it's all about the different streams that are available, the different paths to immigration through business investment on different types of business visas, like the E1 and the E2 and the L1 and the H1B, and basically alphabet soup, and the EB5, which is the one where people were investing in projects in the US and obtaining green cards as a result of the investment and job creation that correlated with the investment. So that book was a number one bestseller on Amazon for a while. It's still in print. there's probably right now a lot of information in there since there's been some administrative changes, but mainly the visa itself, the visas themselves remain as intact, and the information around them. The second book I wrote was called Striking the Perfect Match Between Franchisees and Franchisors and Foreign Investors, because a lot of franchises are missing the boat by not going to foreign nationals and appealing to them as prospective investors, not in those foreign countries, but that franchise is a great way for a foreign national to access the US market. And so there's a lot of franchises that are leaving money on the table by not creating specific slide decks or pitch decks that are focused on these prospective immigrating target clients, target franchisees.
That's amazing. I don't think I've ever ran into any books that really just explains all these visas and different processes and giving a lot of insight to immigrants, which I feel like a lot of people are getting it from, their family and friends, like I said, but it's really good to have something in writing where you can actually reference to and it's legally written correctly by a lawyer. So thank you so much for writing those. That's amazing. I'll
Thank
try to
you.
find those books and put them in the show notes for our listeners to grab a hold of.
Well, I'm
Uh,
happy to share the links with you.
yeah, awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so Laura, how long did it take your business to start seeing some real traction in the beginning stages?
It was probably about, I would say, 2 years, like maybe a year, because I had to build my brand and get out there and start creating relationships in a brand new marketplace that I hadn't really been exposed to before. So that took time. And fortunately, at the time, I have a 10-year-old now, so I didn't have him to worry about. And so it wasn't that, it wasn't that challenging because I only had myself to worry about. But I would travel and go places and speak and create these relationships that continue to this day.
Okay. And so did you work like a 9 to 5 at a different law firm while you were starting to build your brand on the side, or
Uh,
did you quit and then start doing this full time?
A little of both. For the first little while, I was working part-time and doing this as well. And then I moved away there was no way I could do both. It was impossible.
Okay. And so was that scary for you not having continuous income coming in and starting something completely from scratch, brand new?
It's still scary for me. And anybody that says it's not, I think is not a true entrepreneur, because every single day you don't know where your next paycheck is coming from. However, when you look at the world today, you don't know where your next paycheck is coming from, even if you worked in the Fortune 500 companies, or you were. So, I don't think people at Carnival Cruise Lines and Royal Caribbean expected to be out of work, like a year and 14 months ago. So, yeah, there's no such thing as a sure thing. That's one thing I've definitely realized.
hmm And did you have some savings before you quit and did this full time?
Yeah.
You did. Okay. So you think it's important to stack up some
Oh,
savings and then
you need to have probably 6 months worth of living expenses when you're starting out on your own. You need to, or have a line of credit available or something like that.
great. Thank you for that. And so you mentioned something about raising capital in the beginning. Did you have to raise any capital for eCounsel Inc.?
No, I used my own capital.
And what about mentors? Did you have any mentors that helped you out to start your business?
Anybody that tries to start a business without a mentor is going to fail. That's one thing I can say for sure. I would never imagine starting or running a business without coaches and or mentors, or both. It's well worth paying for a coach and a coaching program that keeps you accountable to learn how to run your business and be much more successful.
And where did you find these mentors? You said you had a coach?
I've been in coaching programs for a very long time. I'm just extremely, I guess, out there and connected, and always doing something to create relationships. And so I found my coaching program through a speaking engagement where she was speaking, and she was from San Diego. And I ended up going out there and joining her program for several years.
Got it. Okay. And are you plugged into any entrepreneurs, organizations, or clubs, or any meetups, or coaching is primarily what helped you out?
No, both. Absolutely. I'm part of multiple, I mean, from entrepreneurs organization to CEO space where I'm on faculty to you name it. I'm a part of so many networks. I can't even express them all. C-suite network, I'm on the board, there's a lot. So, and again, it comes down to relationships and relationships and relationships. And I'm also a licensed realtor and I'm with a company called EXP Realty, which is a cloud-based real estate company, and that has been very life-changing for me. It's international, and it allows me access to realtors that are literally all over the world to collaborate with and create relationships.
Yes, I did read about that. Tell me a little bit more about that. How did you get into real estate being a lawyer? That's not something that we typically see these days, but it's a great combination. So how did you get into that?
Actually, there's probably more lawyers that are in real estate than you know.
Really?
Yeah, a
Okay.
lot of lawyers leave law to practice to get a real estate license because they make more money. My mom was a realtor for most of my growing up life. And when I got my green card, I knew I was going to get my real estate license. I'm actually in the process now of getting my mortgage license, just so that I could provide that full scope of services to my clients. So I'm not going to be showing houses, but I might find them a commercial property, and I'm definitely going to refer them to vetted professional team members.
So are you part of a real estate group or do you have this completely solely on your own and you're running this by yourself?
No, I'm part of EXP Realty, which is a cloud-based company. We have 45,000 agents around the world and growing. And so I use a forum called Workplace, which is like Facebook for workplaces. It's actually owned or run by Facebook. And so in there, we can speak with everybody in the company at any given time. So it's extraordinarily collaborative, and everybody is there to help each other.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, and real estate market is booming, so it's
Yeah,
a perfect niche to be in these days, right?
hmm definitely.
Awesome. Great. Lauren, did you do any advertising or marketing in the beginning stages? And if not, are you doing them right now? Does that help you at all?
So I never was huge on advertising. I was more interested in pay to play speaking because I felt that that was a way. Advertising can be very cold if you speak and then you pay to play, meaning that you pay to speak or you pay for whatever comes out of the speaking engagement. You pay a portion to the event coordinator, and then you also can get an ad or get some kind of press from that. So I always believed in that. I never had a huge advertising budget. I did some advertising. Today, I do a little bit of Facebook and Google AdWords from time to time. I'll boost my posts, but I don't have a huge advertising budget. Again, I'd rather be speaking, and these days I no longer have to pay to speak. I get paid. So it's a beautiful thing, and I have my own podcast as well. So that's a great way to get exposure. So generally speaking, I just pay to build my brand and make sure that I have the right systems and funnel and follow-ups in place so that the brand continues to thrive and flourish.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really interesting to hear that speaking engagements it really helps out with building the brand.
But only if you're a good speaker. And if you don't
Yeah.
if you don't get trained, if you don't get the right training, I mean, I have a speaking coach. Okay, and I wouldn't have done it without her. There's no way. She's a very good friend and she is one of the top speaking coaches in the country, and I would never have learned how to speak. I mean, I've always been able to speak, and also on top of that, my dad's very best friend was the top voiceover actor in Canada. And he, when I was first learning to speak, he spent a great deal of time. He actually created my whiteboard video for me, and he spent a lot of time teaching me how to speak to an audience, how to engage the audience, and that was invaluable. I mean, that you can't buy that you can't buy that value anywhere. And so between the two of them, I think I learned how to engage an audience. And every single day, like even now, I'm sure you know of John Asseroff. So I'm doing a program with him right now. He's from The Secret, and he's all about, mindset and messaging and creating the messaging that appeals to your audience and knowing when to be able to walk away. And I'm very much into that. Like I really believe in helping my clients to do what they want to do and finding their why for and with them so that we can accomplish their goals.
And what about your podcast? Do you see any clients? Do you get any clients from your podcast?
So my podcast is brand new. I get a lot of clients from podcast engagements. I think that more and more people are coming to be exposed to my podcast. I just started doing some marketing of it about a month and a bit ago. And so we're definitely seeing some traction there, yes.
Awesome. You have your hands into a lot of different things, which is amazing to see. Very well balanced.
Thank you.
So good job. So, Lauren, I know you have kids. How many kids do you have?
I have one kid and he is 10.
Okay. I want to know, how do you stay productive throughout the days, because you are running so many different things, speaking engagements and podcasts and your nonprofit, your business, and you have a kid. So how do you stay productive throughout the days?
I do a lot of prayer. No, I'm just kidding.
That's
Um,
nice.
so like this morning, I was yelling at my son because he was driving me crazy, and then I felt, of
Aw.
course, extraordinarily guilty. So I'm not always present. It's definitely a challenge. Finding that balance is every single day a challenge for me. When he was home during the first 6 months of COVID, I literally thought I was going to lose my mind, and I almost did. And I'm not even kidding. Like I don't know how we survived it. So anyway, it was just a really interesting and challenging time, and somehow we got through it. Now, that's not to say that we're perfect. He's a very strong-willed child, and it's just me and him. So and he hasn't seen his cousins who are in Toronto, or my mom or his other grandmother in forever. And it gets to him. And my brother and his whole family actually are in isolation now because they have COVID in Toronto. So that's stressing him out because he's like now more worried about anything he does. And it's just a lot of different things that we're dealing with. But he is, thank God, in school, and he's in a small school. So, and he's very careful. And I think now we have like a lot more balance. He's playing baseball again, thank God.
So do you write like daily goals to make sure that you accomplish them? Do you have like a set routine, or you kind of just know what you need to do and you get that done?
It's a little of both because I think that
Okay.
at this point, like my day so I have a very kind of I have to have a structured day. I get up in the morning and I try, if I can, to work out in the morning before I take him to school. So that means usually like 6:30. Okay. Then Zevi, my son, gets up. It's always fun. I get him out of bed around 7, and then we have to leave for school about 7:30. So during that half hour, I may finish my workout. He'll have breakfast. We'll do whatever. We'll walk the dog. And then I come back from school and I do a power walk with the dog almost every morning, unless somebody happens to slip into my calendar early. So I do a power walk with the dog, and then my day starts. So basically, from about 8:45 until 2:30, I'm nonstop. Okay. And then I go get him, and then I start again if he has an activity. So, and then sometimes I have calls as late as 9 at night. Now, one other thing that I do, and haven't been consistent about this in the past, but I am now, is I write a gratitude journal, 10 things I'm grateful for every morning. And I have also been doing as much meditation as I can, and really staying focused on being in gratitude, because that's super important. I think mindset is the most important part. And actually, it's mindset that got me through COVID. So I've also created amazing partnerships through COVID. I have a new business partner in Calgary that we teach people how to invest in real estate with little or no money without qualifying for a mortgage. I really feel that relationships are what has kept me alive and will keep me alive going forward. No matter the fact that we can't hug each other, the relationships I've built are invaluable and hopefully lifetime.
Not a lot of people talk about mindset, and it's so, so important as entrepreneurs or as regular people during COVID, during, all kinds of different stresses that we get through in our lives on a daily basis. So it's really important to hear that we got to get grounded. We got to do some more meditation. We really have to focus on our mental state of mind. And not a lot of people talk about that these days. And it's like you mentioned, it's so important and it's helped you and it's helped a lot of people during COVID and, during grieving processes. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah, I appreciate that. So, Laura, did you always know you were going to be an entrepreneur growing up?
Oh God, no. I was going to be an in-house lawyer and be like those, like LA law, doing deals and not in court. I never wanted to go to court. I just wanted to be that. I wanted to be like on Wall Street, doing deals, making stuff happen, creating mergers. I always knew that I wanted to do securities and do prospectus work and all, and like, but really be in the thick of it, not just be like that quiet lawyer that's pushing paper, but be the
Yeah.
one that's out front making stuff happen and being a part of this of building something. And I guess I am, just now it's a little different.
And so, what made you decide to switch gears and open up your own business? Was there something that you can say and think back to your journey and say, okay, I hated what I was doing part time, or I hated something part of that job? Or what was that transition like for you?
So I can't say that there was any one thing or like that epiphany. I think it was just a series of events, as I was saying about, I wrote business plans. I was an immigrant. My ex-husband was deported. I loved business. I was a great writer. I loved making stuff happen. I put all the pieces together, and now I'm a quarterback. That's really what I do. I quarterback things. I look after my clients. I hold their hand through the process so that they get the result that they want. And that's why, as I was saying, it's not one size fits all. Not everybody needs to set up an LLC. Let's figure out what you need to do for your business, depending on where you're from and what your goals are, short and long term.
Got it. Okay. So you kind of just transitioned, and it seemed like a very natural way of process, or that transition was really natural in drawing you into it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about successes. Are there any successes that you would like to outline from your immigrant entrepreneur journey?
Well, I've been featured in a lot of books that I did not write because of my story. I also was in Working Mother magazine, which was a big deal. That was one of my goals. I've been in Inc. magazine, Wall Street Journal, NPR. I've been featured on hundreds and hundreds of podcasts. I've won awards, accolades, awards all over the place. I mean, I'm not one to really toot my own horn, but I've definitely been recognized for my achievements in a lot of capacities. I won an award for providing the highest quality of service to my clients, and just different things that really made a difference. I'm never going to win Mom of the Year award. That would be nice, but that's just not going to happen.
You win
So
that every day,
no, no,
Lauren.
trust
Yes,
me,
you do.
not with this kid. But truthfully, I think that anybody that, and I'm just going to say this because as a single mom, and I'm not saying this because I'm trying to get empathy, but as a single mom running businesses, when people tell me, oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I'm so this. Oh, I'm so that. Oh, I have so much to do. Like yesterday, I was talking to a woman and I said, well, do you work? No. What do you do? Oh, I play a lot of tennis. It's so exhausting having to get the kids at school and play tennis. And I'm thinking, I can't even imagine I can't even imagine and then somebody else said, well, is it like money that drives you? No, it's not money. Yes, I want financial freedom. Actually, I think that was my answer. What does the American dream mean to you? It means
Yes.
financial freedom, okay? But financial freedom is not just about money. It's about the choices that money brings you. The choice to spend time in doing the things that you want to do. And that's a really big deal because time cannot be purchased. And I love what I do. I would not do it if I didn't love it. And there's a part of my business that is residual income oriented. I don't love that. I like the money, it's great, but I don't love it. I'm not passionate about it. It doesn't impassion me because I'm not impacting people the same way. It's a shame because unfortunately, I still, 80% of the time, 70% of the time, trade time for money. But
Mhm.
the trading time for money is because I want to make an impact.
Yeah, so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I
Sure,
love it.
of course.
So, is giving back, either volunteering time or giving back to the community, something that is part of your business values?
It's part of my values and it's part of my family values and teaching my child. He goes to a school where that is very, very prioritized. And we used to do a lot more before COVID. I'll be honest, we've been like, homebound to a certain extent. We aren't doing those food drive events and stuff, but we will take food somewhere and drop it off, and we'll do stuff that doesn't require us to physically be around a whole bunch of other people because it's just not something I'm willing to do. But yes, I absolutely, when I get a big check, I give a portion of it to one of my favorite charities. And I lost my dad. Okay, I'm not gonna cry. Okay, so I lost my dad to ALS in 2013,
I'm sorry.
and thank you. And it was the most awful experience of my life for sure. I think that ALS is not something anybody can ever imagine. It's the worst disease because your brain works and your body doesn't. So it's just terrible. And watching him fall apart day after day was it was hard for my soul and my heart. And I miss my dad very much. So I don't do as much as I would like to for the ALS Association, but there's a reason because I have a bigger plan in mind. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but stay tuned.
Do you think being an entrepreneur allowed you to give back more in the different ways that you do?
Maybe, being an entrepreneur, people think, oh, you have all this freedom. I don't have any freedom. I work a
Yeah.
lot. But what I do have is, like, unlike, for example, some people that go to a job, they work like dogs, they get a paycheck, they have a day off or 2 days off, they don't work, they don't even think about work. Lovely. That's a job. I never wanted that because your time is not your time. When you're an entrepreneur, you can fit that hour of mentoring somebody or that hour of bringing something to the fire station or whatever the case may be within your day. Or you can grab your kid at school and go to the nearest food bank and drop something off, for example. Okay.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that is a freedom that we do buy as entrepreneurs as part of our time management.
Got it. Yeah. That's very important. So, what is next for you? What are some business goals for the next couple of years? And anything you can share with us?
Sure. Well, I have created a signature program called How to Immigrate Through Real Estate, which has received amazing response. And I wish I had done it 10 years ago, but I didn't. And
Aw.
so, what's going on with that is that not only am I able to impact the actual business owner that wants to invest across borders, whether for immigration purposes or just to invest, and make sure they're doing it the right way by getting them all the professionals, but also I'm able to help realtors and other business advisors to make sure that they're guiding their clients the right way. So my goal with this package and this program, I just created a mini course, and my goal is to be able to deliver that mini course on a monthly basis and be able to impact thousands upon thousands of entrepreneurs each year as we scale and grow this model and build the relationships that I've been working so hard on building for all these years.
Well, I hope you get there. Oh my
Thank you.
goodness. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. So, your real estate program, is that geared towards immigrants as well, or is that encompassing everyone?
It encompasses everyone. I'm very commercially driven, but on
Okay.
the residential real estate side, we can help investors create strategies, and I work with buyers, sellers, and investors mainly on residential passively through referrals and on commercial actively.
Got it. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so what are some things you would advise the next aspiring immigrant that wants to start their own business?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, don't do it alone. Make sure you get a coach. Okay. Also, create mindset strategies every day that you can follow, like, meditation, gratitude journal, the things that'll just keep you focused on mindset. Use as many streamlined processes and systems and time-saving things as possible. I remember in interviews years ago when I would say my favorite app is Amazon. It still is.
Yeah.
Because delivery comes here literally every day. I needed candles. I ordered them from Amazon because it's easier than going to the store. I use the grocery delivery services. I used them before COVID. And now it's like, why do I need, I like going to Whole Foods. Well, imagine why.
Yeah.
But, I think my son keeps saying, Mom, you should meet Jeff Bezos. I'm like, honey, I'm not his biggest customer. Really, I'm really not. Then also to stay in your lane. So one thing that I would advise any entrepreneur or business owner or client is don't try to be your own tax advisor. Don't try to be your own business plan writer, lawyer, accountant, anything. Do what you do because that's how your business is going to thrive, and get the professionals that you need to do the rest. My 4 favorite words truly are stay in your lane.
So powerful. Amazing advice. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for coming on the Immigrant Entrepreneurs podcast. I truly appreciate all the powerful insight that you just have given us. And I'm sure it's going to help so many immigrants listening. So I appreciate all what you do out there, helping out all the immigrants through your services. And thank you so much again for coming on my show.
Thank you. It's been a true pleasure, and I'll look forward to communicating further.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If there are any links that were mentioned in this episode, make sure to check them out on my website under this episode to find all the links conveniently located in the show notes. I just wanted to ask for a quick favor. If you could please leave a review wherever you're at listening to this podcast. Also, if you're an immigrant entrepreneur and would love to be on my podcast, please email me and we'll get connected. I'll see you guys all next time for another exciting and impactful episode. Take care.